Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris here, and I wanted to bring you kind of a condensed short review of a product that I've had for, I guess, about a month and a half now. That is the LG C3 OLED TV. There is a new version of this television coming out, presumably the C4, I would think. I think soon, right? And so, because of this, if you look at places like Best Buy and other outlets, you'll see that this is on sale. I got this, I believe, for $900. Now I have the 48-inch model, which is perfect for the size room that I have. And I just wanted to share some thoughts on, whether or not it's worth that money, whether or not it's worth an upgrade if you have kind of a standard LCD or LED TV and you want to jump into the OLED realm, which that was me. I'd wanted to get an OLED forever. Had a decently solid Samsung, I think it was like a crystal LED or whatever terminology they use, TV in here, about the same size, and it was totally fine. It was a 4K TV, but I saw this one on sale, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to spring for it. Like, I'm going to do it and see what I think about it. So, I just wanted to share some thoughts. I'll start with the remote, which is fine. Like, I don't love the remote, but I think it's good enough. And as you can see here, it's got kind of a Wii remote sort of feature to it, where you can sort of move a cursor around, almost like motion sensor technology, and it sort of scrolls up and down accordingly. You've got a little cursor that's floating around on the screen. There's a little scroll wheel here, which is kind of nice. It generally feels good in the hand. I wish the bottom had a little bit more of a grippiness to it. It's kind of smooth plastic, right? So there are times where it feels like it's kind of slipping out of your hand if you're not really paying attention to what you're doing with it. But the buttons are kind of rubberized and they have that grip to them. And everything else about it is fine. It looks a little bit like kind of an antiquated design, quite honestly, but it's not terrible. It gets the job done and it's serviceable, right? I mean, really, though, the main thing here is the television itself, which I will say, right, this is the first OLED TV I've had, but I do have the Switch OLED, so I have a sense of kind of how good it can look if it's done well. I love my Switch OLED when I play games on that, which is not super frequently anymore just because there hasn't been a ton that's come out recently that I've wanted to play, but having that type of screen as a TV is just amazing. I mean, the colors are amazingly vivid. In fact, I would say with this TV, and again, I don't have a lot of other OLEDs to compare this to, just what I've seen in a store. There are times where it's so bright that I have to scale back the brightness a little bit. Like if you're in a dark room and you're watching a bright movie with like a bright white screen or something like that, it does actually hurt your eyes. It's so bright. But just the black levels, right? Which is, I think, one of the things that OLEDs are most known for, are just outstanding at this. I mean, it's amazing how inky black things look. I was watching John Wick Chapter 4 the other night on my Vudu, or now Fandango at home, streaming account. Looks amazing. And I will say, 4K Blu-ray discs look really good on this too. I've got the 4K Blu-ray of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was just amazed at the level of clarity with the colors, right? So even the opening scene where they're in the jungle, they go in the temple, they're trying to get the idol, just the browns and the greens and the contrast between them. There was a level of detail and color there that I was able to pick up on this that I just had not ever seen in the movie before. And again, keep in mind, when I put in a 4K UHD disc, I'm watching it on my Series X, which is actually giving me HDR10 and not Dolby Vision. So I need to get an actual standalone player. I had one, but I had some issues with it, so I'm using my Series X right now. But even with that, HDR10 and not Dolby Vision, it looks amazing. Of course, the TV does Dolby Vision, and the Dolby Vision content it puts out looks amazing. So yes, the colors are vibrant and awesome. And I would say, if there's a struggle that I had with this initially, it was trying to kind of figure out the best settings for me when it comes to the judder, right? So when a camera is panning across the screen, of course, I'm the kind of person who wants true motion off, or like motion smoothing off. I do not like the soap opera effect. I want that completely gone. Turned it off. There were some movies I watched where, and I'm not sure if it's because of the clarity and the brightness or what, but when the camera would pan, it was almost like, whoa, it kind of gave me a little bit of a headache because of the level of judder, and I had not experienced that before in a TV. So I had to kind of play with it a little bit. There are some de-judder settings you can sort of turn on without turning on motion smoothing. And what's interesting is you can customize your setup for each application, right? So you can, I think, apply your settings to all sources, but I don't really do that, right? So I've got it set up a certain way for my PS5, a certain way for when I'm watching things on the Apple TV app or the Vudu app or YouTube TV or whatever. So you can really kind of customize it to your liking. And a pro tip I would sort of put out there with this TV is, I think cinematic movement under the motion settings is one of the best compromises. If you find that you get this TV and you're sensitive to the judder effect, cinematic movement is not the soap opera effect in my experience, but what it does help with a little bit is when things are panning there's a little bit of smoothing there, like just enough to kind of help make it not quite as jarring as it would otherwise be. I think just again because of the clarity and the brightness and the color. So it looks really nice when you kind of get the settings dialed in. But I will say it took me a little while to do that. And I've heard that the Sony OLEDs are a little bit more user friendly with that kind of stuff, and you could do it a little more quickly. I had to tinker with this probably for 3 to 4 weeks to get it to a place that I really feel good about. And now I'm kind of locked in with my settings, and I'm happy with how everything is sort of laid out. The one thing I would add to this conversation is that yes, video games look amazing on it. My PS5, my Series X, and you can see here there are video game settings that tell you, FPS. They give you information about that. Everything looks fantastic. I was playing Animal Well on my PS5 today, which is a great new game. If you've got a PS5 or a Switch, I think those are the two systems and PC that it's out on. Check it out. It's a really fun Metroidvania type of game that really leans more into the exploration versus combat side of things. But I've had a lot of fun with that so far. But everything just pops and looks amazing. Truly, it really does. The one other thing I would comment on is WebOS, like as a baked in, sort of OS for the television itself to house all of your apps and everything. It's fine. I have not really noticed any lag or anything like that with it. I don't know with age how that will progress and if it will be better for me to use one of my game consoles as kind of my media center, so to speak, to get content through if the OS starts to get a little bit of age on it and slows down. But so far, it's been completely fine. One thing, and I'm looking at it right now as I'm recording this, one thing that I like about this TV too is after a minute or two, it goes into a black screen and then does kind of a fireworks animation to keep things from venturing into the realm of burn-in, right? Which is a known risk with OLED TVs that you have to be kind of mindful of, but this does a good job of trying to prevent that. But what I would say too is if you get one of these TVs, go onto YouTube and look up some 8K or LG specific OLED content that's really kind of vibrant color type of stuff, like demo stuff, and it will just blow your mind. But all of that to say, do I think this is worth the price? Yeah, like I think it's great. The one downside, I didn't mention this, the one downside I would say is that the speakers are fine, but they're not that amazing. I would say I frequently watch stuff with headphones with this because it's got Bluetooth connectivity and I've got a pair of Sony headphones that are great. And so I throw those on when I'm watching movies and that kind of stuff. This room isn't really, big enough. I mean, I could squeeze a sound system in here, but I think that would be probably a little bit overkill for the size of room. So, but anyway, I am super happy with this. And what I would say is if you're on the fence, I think for the money, this is a good pickup, right? If you've been thinking about an OLED television, the LG C3 is one that I have been happy with in my month and a half or so of ownership. So anyway, if you have this TV, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, thanks so much for watching.